Hello, my name is James. I'm 42 years old. For the sake of everyone, I have changed their names, including my own, in the story I'm about to tell you now. I was a fraud, 20 years behind the pulpit, and I'd never actually met the God I claimed to serve. It took losing my family, my ministry, and nearly my life during a 40-day fast for him to finally show up. When my heart flatlined in that hospital room, Jesus was there in the darkness, holding a mirror to my soul and revealing a spiritual starvation I'd been feeding with empty words for decades. I died behind the wheel of my semi-truck on June 3rd, just outside North Platte, Nebraska, while driving under a sky full of stars. The time was 2:14 a.m. It was the last day of my fast. I hadn't eaten in 40 days, not because I wanted to be holy, but because I was hungry for more than food. I needed God to talk to me so badly. Before we begin, if you believe God is able to reach us even in life's hardest moments, share in the comments where you are watching from. Your responses remind me that none of us walk this journey alone. You might have felt what I felt. Maybe you've sat in silence so loud that it hurt your chest. You might have looked in the mirror and asked yourself, how did I become this man? 3 years ago, I was a youth pastor at a local church in Omaha. I really liked that job. I used to say that God had called me to it, like he had picked me out of the crowd and given me a mission and a microphone. Each Sunday, I stood in front of a group of teens and read the Bible to them like it was living water. But in all that pouring out, I forgot how to let God fill me back up. At that time, I was married to Sarah. We had 2 children, Andre and Camilla. Last week, she turned 16. Andre just turned 14. I used to pick them up after youth nights and play Christian rock music really loud in the car while they begged me to change the station. Camilla was a fan of Taylor Swift. Andre liked the clean versions of old school rap. When the truck is quiet, I can still hear them laughing. But I began to drift away, first emotionally, then spiritually, and finally morally. There was a woman in the church, a volunteer who worked with the girls in high school. It never got physical, but it almost did. That almost was enough to bring everything crashing down. I told the truth before it got worse. In front of the board, I cried. I pleaded for mercy. But once trust is broken, it's like glass. Even when you put it back together, it's still not clear. They told me to leave. I said yes. Sarah tried to forgive me, but she said I had been gone for a long time before the affair. She told me, "You were never with us. You were always with the church, in your head or behind a sermon." 2 months later, she asked for a divorce. I didn't fight it. Maybe I thought I deserved it. I might still do. She got custody. I now live in a rented trailer outside Cedar Creek, 2 hours away. It's not fancy. A twin mattress on the ground. A small fridge with more water bottles than food. There is a picture of Camilla and Andre taped to the mirror. They don't call very often. If I'm lucky, Camilla will answer my texts. It's been almost a year since Andre talked to me. I sent applications to every church I could find, even the big ones, the small ones, and the ones that went on missions abroad. No one wanted a pastor who had been caught cheating on his wife emotionally. That's why I became a truck driver for a long time. I have a CDL. I move freight from one state to another. There's nothing holy about it, just open roads and coffee at truck stops. I drive for 10 to 12 hours every day. I can only hear the engines hum now. You know that time when the quiet gets so loud that you talk to your steering wheel like it's your only friend? I've had 1,000 of those. Pray? That dried up a long time ago. I did my best, I really did. I would kneel next to the bunk in my cab and say, "God, are you even listening?" But it was like talking to a wall. I also stopped reading the Bible. The words ran together. nothing stuck. I didn't feel angry at God. I felt like he had forgotten me. Not included. It felt like the party was going on, but I wasn't on the guest list anymore. Then one day, I heard a podcast of a preacher talking about spiritual fasting. He said, "Sometimes hunger works when prayer doesn't." That line hit me like a train. So I chose to go without food, just water, 4 days. Not because I wanted to make God happy. I just wanted to feel something, to know that he hadn't completely turned his back. The first few days were the hardest, the pain in my head, the tiredness. My body is screaming for food. There was something else, though, under all that pain. A weird kind of quiet. On day 12, I stopped wanting burgers and started wanting peace. I had vivid dreams by day 23. I dreamed that Camilla was in my trailer one night and asked me why I never listened. I saw my old church empty one night, with the lights flickering and the pews covered in dust. On day 30, I cried on the side of the road for almost an hour. Not because they were hungry, because I could feel something breaking inside. It felt like the walls I had built were finally coming down. On day 39, I drove through the night in Nebraska without any music. Just quiet. I remember that the stars were very bright, the kind of bright that makes you feel small and like you belong. As I got on I-80, I said a prayer. God, I give you everything. If you're still here, speak up. And that's when it happened. Pain, sharp, out of the blue, in the middle of my chest. I had just walked through a wheat field that was as wide and open as the ocean. I held on to the wheel, but the world began to spin. I remember saying, I give up, and then everything went black. At the time, I didn't know that I had the same heart problem that killed my dad. Later, doctors said it was hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, not diagnosed. It was quiet until it wasn't. They said my truck safely drifted off the road through the field and stopped as if someone else had taken the wheel. They found me slumped over with my eyes open and no pulse. For more than 4 minutes, dead. But I wasn't gone. Not really. That's when I saw something I never thought I would see. Something that is more real than anything I've seen on Earth. And someone called me son in a way that made every part of me that was broken feel whole. I will always remember what he showed me. Not just about me, but about the hunger that most of us have every day, especially in churches. And I do know. I know that this story needs to be told. I always thought dying would be scary. It would feel like falling into a black hole or being swallowed by the cold dark. But the truth is, it didn't feel like that at all. I felt the pain first when my heart stopped beating that night on I-80. It hurt like someone had driven a nail through my chest. I held on to the steering wheel tightly. I lost my grip on the gas. The whole truck slowed down and gently drifted across the road, as if it already knew where to go. And then, nothing. No more hurt, no more noise. Just quiet. But not the same kind of quiet that was in the truck cab. Not the quiet that felt heavy and empty. This was not the same. This quiet felt alive. I was still aware of who I was, but I wasn't in my body anymore. I didn't feel how heavy it was. My chest doesn't feel tight. My bones don't feel tired, just a little bit. I could see everything as soon as I left my body. I floated over the wheat field. My truck was parked there, quiet and still, like it had parked itself. The door on the driver's side was slightly open. The headlights were still on as they cut through the golden stalks. I could see myself slumped over the wheel. Eyes shut. Face pale. Seeing my own body like that should have scared me, but it didn't. I might have felt at peace. Maybe it was the presence I could already feel pulling me up. I don't really know. I don't know why, but I wasn't scared anymore. I really did feel safe. I've never felt safer than I do now. Then things changed. The stars above began to spin. Not quickly or wildly, but slowly and widely, as if they were moving apart. There was a warm wind blowing over me, but I couldn't feel it on my skin. I could feel the wind in my soul. It smelled like honeysuckle and something else, but I can't remember what it was. And then, the field of wheat disappeared. Things around me changed. I was now standing on solid ground. The grass was cool and thick, like the floor of a forest that had never been walked on. My bare feet sank into it. A wide meadow stretched out in front of me, glowing with golden light. Not from the sun, there was no sun, but from everything else that seemed to be there. From the trees, the air, the ground itself. A stream that was very clear ran nearby, gently curving through the grass. The water glowed like glass. The flowers danced in the wind, and the colors were too bright for earth. I could hear music, but not with my ears. It was deep inside me. It was a form of worship. Not like a band that plays praise music on Sunday mornings. No microphones or drums, just harmony, alive, flowing, and pure. I slowly turned to take it all in. I felt complete in every way, not just in good health, all of it. The shame, guilt, and loneliness I'd been carrying for years were gone. And then I saw him. He was coming toward me from the trees, not glowing, not surrounded by trumpets or thunder. It's just a man, maybe in their 30s. Black hair, eyes that looked like they had been around forever. He wore a robe that was whiter than any other fabric I've seen. His hands, there were scars on his hands, but they shone, not like open wounds, but more like signs of victory. I knew right away that it was Jesus. Not because someone told him about it, not because I saw a painting once. I knew because everything about me reacted to him. My soul knew this is the one, just like a baby knows its mother's voice. I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, but he kept walking, slowly and calmly. When he got close enough, he opened his arms. He didn't look like he was judging. No letdown, just love. Not the soft, sweet love you see on a card. This was not the same. It was strong, very angry, taking over everything. It was the kind of love that didn't just see me, it knew me, and still said hello to me. That's when I lost it. I knelt down and cried. Not because I was feeling bad, not even because I was too busy, but I felt completely known and safe for the first time in my whole life. I didn't have to explain the affair, the failure, the split. He already knew. He had always known. And he still called me son. He got down on one knee next to me and touched my shoulder. That one touch, warm, firm, and steady, felt like it changed everything I thought I knew. Every time I thought, God has given up on me, that touch took it away. He said my name, just once, James. When he spoke, it was as if all the sounds in the meadow stopped to listen. He said, "My dear son, you have learned to want what really makes you happy." Tears came down again. I couldn't stop them. "Lord," I said softly, "I let you down. I let my family down. I let everyone down." He smiled. Not the kind of smile that ignores pain, but the kind that sees it, holds it, and offers healing anyway. He gently raised my chin with his hand. "You thought you couldn't do it because you failed," he said. "But it broke your pride and made you more open." I couldn't take my eyes off of his. They had all of eternity in their hands, but they still only thought about me. "I never left you," he said again, "even when your prayers seemed useless, even when your fast felt empty. I was there, waiting for you to make room. I didn't know what to say, he said, you weren't hungry for food. It was for me. I was about to talk again when he put a hand on my chest, and I could feel everything, all of the sermons I had ever given, every error. I felt alone in that trailer every second. I drove every mile in silence. He let me feel them all, but now I'm wrapped in his love. Jesus said, true fasting is not suffering for me. It's giving in to me. After that, he stood up and held out his hand. He wanted to show me more. But at that moment, kneeling in a golden meadow with my heart healed by love and my soul in Jesus' arms, I felt something I had never felt before. Home, and I knew. I wasn't dreaming, I wasn't making it up. This was real, more real than anything I'd ever seen, touched, tasted, or believed on earth. He started to take me toward the mountains in the distance. Their peaks rose high into a sky that sparkled with both dawn and starlight. And while we walked, I thought, this wasn't the end of the trip. It was just the start. Jesus and I walked next to each other, and the soft grass in the meadow didn't make a sound. The air was peaceful, the kind that made you feel calm and stayed with you. It felt like healing with every breath I took. As I went deeper into this place, it felt like I was leaving parts of myself behind. I didn't say anything, I didn't know how to do it, but Jesus did. He looked at me with the same deep love that had already broken me once, not with judgment or pity. And when he spoke again, it was as if his voice echoed through the air and my soul at the same time. He said softly, James, you carried shame like it was your name. My chest felt tight, but not in pain. I knew what it meant. He stopped walking and turned to look at me. You thought that failing meant you weren't worthy to say my name. You thought that when people turned you down, I would too. Tears came again, uninvited but real. I let them down, I said quietly. My wife, my children, the church. I gave up preaching for driving. I was supposed to feed other people, but I couldn't even feed myself. Jesus reached out and touched my chest in the middle. When his hand touched that spot, I felt every wound come to the surface. Years of silence, loneliness, and empty prayers whispered into truck stop parking lots. You were not disqualified, he said. You were being emptied. I blinked to try to understand. He went on. Fasting is not a punishment. It's space. Space for me to fill what pride and performance had pushed out. I broke again, shaking shoulders, weak knees. You thought that talking about me was the same as knowing me, he said. But knowing me starts where performance ends. He stopped, and I could tell that he was looking for more than just my mistakes. He said, you wanted to be strong for everyone. But I didn't need strength from you. I needed you to give up. The words fell like rain on dry ground. I remembered all those nights in the cab when I prayed for nothing. I thought about all the voicemails I left for Camilla, all the texts I sent Andre that he never opened, and all the long silences on the other end of the line. I thought about Sarah, who was tired and rightfully done, and how I had confused spiritual leadership with control. Jesus saw everything, and he still said I was his. He pointed to the meadow behind us, and all of a sudden it moved. The golden grass disappeared, and moving pictures took its place. Not screens, no visions, more like windows that move. I saw my trailer. It was dark, quiet, and lonely. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at a water bottle and a crumpled picture of my kids. Your wilderness, Jesus said in a soft voice, but also your altar. Another picture came up. Sarah sitting at the kitchen table in Lincoln, her head in her hands, and the kids fighting in the background. He said, Not hate, but heartbreak. Wounds that never healed because my people put performance above love. Then I saw churches all over Nebraska, but they were small. Pastors who are tired, pews that are empty. People come because it's a habit, not because they're hungry. A man I didn't know was preaching while looking at notes on his phone. His eyes were glazed over. A youth group that eats more pizza than prays. Jesus said, "The world is starving, but not for entertainment. For me." I felt that hunger in my own heart. I had done it. After that, there were the truck stops. Men in their 50s and 60s hunched over counter stools with blank stares. Drivers use pills, porn, or just a lot of miles to numb their pain. A woman was alone in her truck, looking at pictures of a child she hadn't seen in years. "Do you see, James?" Jesus turned to me again and asked, "Your brokenness didn't keep you from the mission. It got you ready for it." I took a deep breath, but I failed. In public. Over and over, he said, "You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. And now you are." His eyes then became even more loving. "Just like you did when you were quiet, there are kids who are growing up hungry, both spiritually and physically. They don't need well-polished sermons. They need proof that my love reaches even those who have fallen." My heart hurt. I remembered Andre, of Camilla, of all the teens I've taught who thought faith was a show. I thought about kids who only saw church as a place to be judged, not healed. Jesus moved closer. They need to see what grace looks like in a man who has been broken and then healed. I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay in that meadow with all my heart, not hurting, no failure, only him. "Please," I said softly, "don't send me back. Please let me stay here." He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Even now, a part of you thinks your purpose is over. But James, it's only just starting." I shook my head. "I don't think I can do it." "You won't do it by yourself." He reached out again, but this time he didn't put his hand on my chest. He took my hand in his. He said, "You've tasted emptiness. Now go give food to other people, not with perfect answers, but with real bread, my bread. Show them what it means to want me." The field got brighter, the stream shone, the music got louder, and still, I didn't want to go. "Lord," I said softly, "I'm scared. What if I fail again?" Jesus leaned in close with his forehead against mine and said, "Then fail forward, but always make room for me." I felt warm all over, my spirit like light coming in through the smallest cracks. Then I felt something pulling, not too harshly, softly, like a slow pull back. "No," I said softly, "please." His voice came to me one last time, but not from in front of me. "Give my kids food. They are hungry." When I got back, the first thing I felt was cold. Not the calm, cool air of heaven's meadow, but the cold, sterile air of hospital sheets and machines that beep. My body felt heavy. My mouth is dry. My chest hurts. I blinked at the white ceiling, which made me feel confused and hurt. Then I was hit by a wave of grief, not just because of the pain, but also because of what I had lost. The field, the music, the light. Him. I had never felt more alive than when I was dead, and now that I was back in this weak shell, the pain of being apart was so strong that it almost broke me again. But with that pain came something else. A fire. A clear, burning memory of Jesus saying, "Feed my children. They are very hungry." For 4 minutes I had been dead. There was no heartbeat, no breath. But I came back with a heart that beat stronger than before. Doctors couldn't figure it out. It looks like I have the same rare genetic heart disease that killed my father, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. But for some reason, my heart had calmed down on its own. The heart doctor said it was medically remarkable. I call it mercy. It wasn't just physical recovery, it was personal. I didn't go back to the truck right away after I got out of the hospital. I went back home. Not to the trailer in Cedar Creek, but to Lincoln, to the front porch of a house I used to live in. I didn't have any hopes. A letter is all. A handwritten note for Sarah, Camilla, and Andre on one page. I read it out loud on their front step, not sure if anyone inside was listening. I told them the truth about my death, my fast, and my meeting with Jesus. Not to make them like me, not to fix things right away, but to let them know I was different. That God had filled my emptiness with love instead of shame. I told them I wasn't there to fix everything. I was there to love them, no matter how long it took. When I was done, Sarah quietly opened the door. No big hugs, no music that makes you feel bad. But she nodded and said, "Thank you for not giving up," even though she was crying. That was all. 3 days later, Camilla called me. We talked for 20 minutes about her chemistry test and her hopes for college. I told her that I had faith in her. I meant it more than she could ever know. After that, Andre didn't talk to me for 2 months. But then he sent me a text that said, "I heard you almost died. Are you okay?" When I saw that message, I cried in the Walmart parking lot. I went back to work, but things were different. I didn't drive for 12 hours a day anymore. I didn't want to, even if my health could handle it. I started planning routes that let me stop a lot. Not to make deliveries, but to see people. Truck stops turned into places of worship. I would sit with people I didn't know and drink burnt coffee and ask them how they were really doing. Some of them opened up right away. Some people just needed someone to sit next to them and be quiet. Now, I kept water and fresh bread in the cab. I didn't have much, but I gave it away without thinking. I called it Bread for the Journey. One night, a driver named Matt said he was going to kill himself at the next stop. His wife had gone, and his son wouldn't talk to him. He said, "I just wanted someone to see that I was hurting." I told him about the field, about Jesus, about the voice that called me son even when I felt like a loser. We prayed in that parking lot while the diesel engines hummed and the cab lights were off. Matt didn't do it. The next day, he called his son. They began to talk again. People didn't hear about it right away. Churches asked me to come, not to preach, but to listen. I led small groups called Rediscovering Sacred Hunger. They weren't about being hungry, but about having space. About giving up being busy, performing, and being proud. About giving God's voice room again. Pastors came in the dark. People who have been divorced, people who are addicted, leaders who are tired, people who had left the church but still wanted to follow Jesus. My theology and sermons weren't perfect anymore, only stories, time for bread, being there. That was all it took. My priorities changed in a big way. I used to think that success meant how many people came, how many people liked me, and how busy I was for God. Now, I measure it by how quiet it is. When my kids want to talk, I sit with them, by picking up the phone even when I'm tired, and making sure that just one more load doesn't mean I miss my doctor's appointments. Family comes first. Money comes after relationships. Health comes before work. And God above all else. Now I see everything in a new way. That old trailer in Cedar Creek, it is still there. I kept it to remember. I sometimes go back, but only to pray. To remember how many miles I drove without talking. In that silence, I finally learned that prayer isn't always words. Hunger is one of them. Tears are sometimes. Sometimes all you have to do is show up and sit still. I don't say I'm perfect now, not at all, but I see eternity in my eyes. Everything changes when you've been held by the hands that made the stars and seen the face of the one who called you son even when you were at your worst. You stop trying to get love and learn how to accept it. You stop hiding your wounds and start using them to help other people heal. You stop asking, "Why did God let me fall?" and start asking, "How can I help someone else get up?" If you're reading this and feel empty, hungry, or like you've been forgotten, if religion has made you feel cold, or if you failed so badly that you think God is done with you, listen to me. He isn't done yet. He is never finished. You don't have to be perfect for Jesus. He wants you to give up. He doesn't only talk in churches, he talks in trucks sometimes. In silence, in beds at the hospital. At 2:14 in the morning, in empty fields. He's closer than you think. He calls you child, not failure. Stop trying to fill up with more noise, more work, and more performance if you're really starving. Give yourself some room, be quiet, and you might hear him say what he said to me once, "Your hunger brought you home."